Well, hello there, everybody. This is Chucky Bear coming at you with a brand new book, Judges. Now, just a warning, this is a really messed up ancient document. And there's a reason for it. Before I get going, I just want to give you a heads up, though. The further we get along into this book, the more PG-13 and eventually R-rated it becomes. And it's not even really about rating, it's just about that, you'll see. The last few chapters of this book are a bit traumatic, even for old Chucky Bear. That's why I got my Eagles jersey on, because I'm Philly strong. What? Yeah. So we're going to get through this, because it's awesome. But man, just like Ollivander once said, great, terrible things, but great. And that's what this book is full of. Terrible things, great, but terrible. And with that, except for Deborah. Deborah's awesome, but we'll cover that when we get to her. All right, so let's dive in. Judges, chapter 1. After the death of Joshua, the Israelites asked the Lord, who will be the first to go up and fight for us against the Canaanites? The Lord answered, Judah is to go. I have given the land into their hands. Okay, that was kind of a bad Lord voice. Sorry. Then the men of Judah said to the Simeonites, their brothers, come up with us into the territory allotted to us to fight against the Canaanites. We in turn will go with you into yours. So the Simeonites went with them, because that sounded like a good idea. When Judah attacked, the Lord gave the Canaanites and Perizzites into their hands, and they struck down 10,000 men at Bezek. It was there that they found Adoni-Bezek and fought against him, putting rout to the Canaanites and Perizzites. Adoni-Bezek fled, and they chased him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and big toes. No, really, they did. It's right there in the text. They cut off his thumbs and big toes. Then Adoni-Bezek said, 70 kings with their thumbs and big toes cut off have picked up the scraps under my table. Now God has paid me back for what I did to them. Oh, so it's ironic. They brought him to Jerusalem, and he died there. The men of Judah attacked Jerusalem also and took it. They put the city to the sword and set it on fire. Whoosh! That's the sound of the fire. Whoosh! After that, the men of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites living in the hill country, the Negev, and the western foothills. They advanced against the Canaanites living in Hebron, formerly called Kiriath Arba, and defeated Shishai, Ahiman, and Talmai. From there, they advanced against the people living in Debir, formerly called Kiriath Sefer. And Caleb said, I will give my daughter, Aksa, in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Kiriath Sefer. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it. So Caleb gave his daughter, Aksa, to him in marriage. Okay. One day when she came to Othniel, she urged him to ask her father for a field. When she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, What can I do for you? She replied, Do me a special favor. Since you have given me land in Negev, give me also springs of water. Then Caleb gave her the upper and... What? Then Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. Okay, this is getting weird. The descendants of Moses' father-in-law, the Kenite, went up from the city of Palms with the men of Judah to live among the people of the desert of Judah in the Negev near Arad. Then the men of Judah went with the Simeonites, their brothers, and attacked the Canaanites living in Zephath, and they totally destroyed the city. Therefore, it was called Hormah. The men of Judah also took Gaza, Ashkelon, and Ekron, each city with its territory. The Lord was with the men of Judah. They took possession of the hill country, but they were unable to drive the people from the plains because they had iron chariots. As Moses had promised, Hebron was given to Caleb, who drove from it the 3 sons of Anak. The Benjamites, however, failed to dislodge the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there with the Benjamites. Now the house of Joseph attacked Bethel, and the Lord was with them. When they sent men to spy out Bethel, formerly called Luz, the spies saw a man coming out of the city, and they said to him, "Show us how to get into the city, and we will see that you are treated well." So the man showed them, and they put the city to the sword, but spared the man and his whole family. He then went to the land of the Hittites, where they built a city and called it Luz, which is its name to this day. But Manasseh did not drive out the people of Bethshan, or Tanakh, or Dor, or Ebleam, or Megiddo, and their surrounding settlements. For the Canaanites determined to live in that land. Were determined to live in that land. When Israel became strong, they pressed the Canaanites into forced labor, but never drove them out completely. Nor did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites living in Gezer, but the Canaanites continued to live there among them. Neither did Zebulun drive out the Canaanites living in Kitron or Nahalal, who remained among them, but they did subject them to forced labor. Nor did Asher drive out those living in Akko, or Sidon, or Ahleb, or Aksib, or Helba, or Aphek, or Rehob. And because of this, the people of Asher lived among the Canaanite inhabitants of the land. Neither did Naphtali drive out those living in Bethshemesh, or Bethanath, but the Naphtalites too lived among the Canaanite inhabitants of the land. And those in Bethshemesh and Bethanath became forced laborers for them. The Amorites confined the Danites to the hill country, not allowing them to come down into the plain. And the Amorites were determined also to hold out in Mount Heres, Ajalon, and Shalbim. But when the power of the house of Joseph increased, they too were pressed into forced labor. The boundary of the Amorites was from Scorpion Pass to Selah and beyond. Okay, there is way too much to cover here in this little review. So I do hope that you are, A, impressed by the fact that I had all of that memorized. I mean, whoo, old Chucky Bear here. I really prepare for these readings sometimes, just to let you know. But furthermore, yeah, there's just way too much to unpack here. So I'm just going to hit on a couple of points and hopefully, the rest throughout the study of Judges. Okay, first off, the whole thing with, Caleb and Othniel and Caleb's daughter, which is Othniel's niece, and them getting married. Yeah, that is really messed up. In a lot of ancient texts, there's intermarriages and stuff and incest, but by this point, it had been outlawed in the Hebrew nation. And in fact, that's kind of a key point. It had just been outlawed because law had just been brought to the Israel nation. Now, Israel had been a nation for hundreds of years, but it was a slave nation subject to the boundaries or the laws and decrees of a very, very aggressive Egyptian government who really wanted to actually exterminate them. But now that they're in their own land, their God is trying to form them into a family nation. And he gave them 613 laws and ordinances to live by in an effort to make everyone basically behave like a family. And that's a big part of why they were pushing everybody out. But I've only got about 30 seconds left. I try to keep these videos under 3 minutes, but they go to 7, but 10 is my hard stop. And that's coming quickly. So I'm just kind of rambling a little bit chaotically right now. And hopefully you'll look more into this because it is really fascinating. Judges is incredibly sophisticated for its time and complex and very disturbing. But when you see under the layers that these aren't people doing God's will. They're not. They're his employees, but they're not exactly good people for the most part. Except Deborah. She's awesome. But we'll get to that later. This is Chucky Bear. I hope you have a beautiful day. Bark.